Man, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you rockin' with Young Dolph, let me know where y'all from and who you a fan of. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel, man. So they getting a lot of people that was surrounding Moneybagg Yo, including Big30 and anyone who drove that Bentley truck. The fans know exactly who did it, and when they know that, they go directly to the main person, man. They starting to realize that all these people that was in and outside that Bentley is all tied to Moneybagg Yo and his people, part of CMG. He got that as a gift from Yogotti and gave it to his baby mama. When Moneybagg Yo baby mama got hit up, a lot of people thought that had something to do with the Bentley, because at that moment, at that time, she was the one mainly driving it. She took it to Lenox Mall in Atlanta. That's where a lot of people seen it. But most importantly, they was leaving it in the driveway, not even in the garage. That's when people started to notice, because every time they went to Privé, every time they went to Moneybagg Yo's restaurant, they pull up in that Bentley, man. And so the feds started to put two and two together, and they pieced up this whole thing where they know for a fact that Big30 was in that Bentley at one point. So they gonna try to get Big30 to say that Moneybagg Yo was the one taking them around in that Bentley, and basically prove that it was Moneybagg Yo's. They put that Bentley in the chop shop and sold it into 1,000 different pieces. At this moment, they're gonna try to piece it and put it all back together to bring it up, because that's gonna be exhibit number 5 in the whole evidence thing when this Dolph trial really starts, man. The Dolph trial is getting ready. They about to subpoena everybody, because the indictments, the way that they rolling out, they got to have all the witnesses there in line with the story straight. Remember, the Makeda story changed multiple times. The people who own that cookie shop and who worked there, at the beginning, they try to say it was one thing that happened. And then when the cameras came back again, the same questioners, the 12 pulled up with the marshals, and they said, okay, so what exactly did you see? Then that's when the whole entire story changed again, man. A lot of people, they got special interest in this because they know the people who was involved. When you know who the people involved is, that's why the story keeps on changing, because they don't want to have to deal with, if they said anything too close to the actual storyline, then that retaliation could come back on them. Because you got to remember, people got paid to do a hit. It was a whole setup. Let me know if y'all think Young Dolph was set up, because at this point, everybody that's really rocking with Young Dolph knows that he might have got set up. Like, if you look at everything that's going on, you know for a fact that he did not just walk up into that cookie shop by himself when he had the same clothes on for 2 days. That's when something's wrong about that, because the way that Dolph had his fashion and everything, he stayed fresh. He always wore Dolce & Gabbana or something like that. So it ain't no way him having a big mansion like that in Memphis. He has multiple houses. He's got stores he owns. If he could go home and change his clothes, he would have did that. So just by him being in that same yellow shirt 2 days in a row, and he ends up at that cookie shop. Because remember, when he was at that Ruth Chris, the girls that was taking pictures of him, the last picture that he had somebody take with him, it was that girl, that lady in the green dress. She was taking the picture with him, and he was still wearing that same yellow shirt with the hat, the chains, and you see the watches. The most important part, he had that chrome heart bag. The money, the amount of money and jewelry and everything that's inside that chrome heart bag is a whole treasure right there. And that's why when they looked at his car at the cookie shop, remember when the 12 pulled up, the ambulance pulled up, and they was taping off the scene, they popped Dolph's trunk and took that chrome heart bag from the trunk. Anybody that knows anything about anything, whenever you put a bag in the trunk, when you know that there's space in the front seat or the back seat, that's because it has something very important in it. The only time people put bags in the trunk like that is if they know for a fact that they can't have nobody see or know about this. So how did they know that Dolph had that chrome heart bag in the trunk? It's because the pictures at the Ruth Chris. When they was at that Ruth Chris at that Benihana, they know that he had that chrome heart bag on him, so they had to find a way to get that chrome heart bag. Because remember, Dolph came in, he was picking up $1 million checks from all the investments, all the businesses that he had going on in Memphis. Dolph is rich, he was loaded, man. And you know how rappers do it. They gonna walk around with cash, everything, checks, and Dolph was doing that too. He had his jewelry, he had all of that with him. And this is one of the things that they were targeting him to get to, because they knew for a fact that they could use Dolph's money that he had on him, the chains and all of that, to pay off the people who ran the play, who did the hit. So that way they basically used the stuff that they found that they hit a lick on to pay for the whole thing, and then they was able to benefit off of a lot, man. You got to remember, there was a lot of people that was trying to take Dolph out. There was a lot of people that was hating on Dolph, and one thing you got to understand is that they connected everything back together, man, because the people that was seen running out the back of that cookie shop, the cars that was out there, remember, they said at least 5 to 6 cars was following Dolph. One of them could have been Moneybagg Yo Corvette, but this is just what the reports are saying. What people out there are saying right now is the fact that they know that they got him right now cornered, because this Rico is about to go crazy on everything, because they know that they got Justin Johnson brother right there to tell on Big Jook and Govan. You got to remember, they took Govan in and gave him an opportunity to basically get a second chance, because the way that he got that $90K bond had to have been from him giving up the head of the whole operation. That's what they usually try to get people to do. The feds are trying to get the head of the snake, so they get all the little guys to come in for whatever things that they did. These are the chess pawn pieces, man. This whole thing is a game of chess. They use the pawns to run the play. The pawns, those were the guys that ran up into the front of the cookie shop. Those are the guys that was following around in the cars. Those are the people that was taking the pictures of Dolph at the gas station. Those are all the pawn pieces. Then you got the next level of dudes who's like Govan and Big Jook, the guys who hear the news from the top, and then they have to go and execute. They got to tell the pawns what to do, how to do it. This whole thing revolves around the meeting that happened the night before at the Privé restaurant. The Bentley was there. Everybody was there, man. Everybody that had anything to do with this, you could find them back in that same footage of that video that night before in the Privé restaurant. And the Privé restaurant is Yogotti's mom's restaurant. And what's the first thing that MPD did when the whole Dolph thing took off? They went straight to Yogotti's mom's restaurant. They actually had more security and more response to go and back up Yogotti's mom's restaurant rather than send that to the Dolph scene. And so you know for a fact that they got to know something about whatever was going on at the restaurant, or the people who own the restaurant or anything. They had to have known that somebody was going to try to come back and do a sneak attack, revenge attack to them, only because they might have seen them grouped up in that same Privé restaurant the night before, plotting something. And what did all of them dudes have in common? The fact that they didn't like Dolph, man. And it's a sad situation that Dolph got hit up basically in his own city where he grew up and everything like that. Dolph spent a majority of his whole entire childhood growing up in Memphis, and so he actually took over the whole streets. And when Yogotti was coming up, you got to remember, young Dolph is way younger than Yogotti. Yogotti was old when Yogotti seen that young Dolph was coming up. He got jealous because young Dolph was younger than him, and he was going to end up making more money than Yogotti, because young Dolph started at a younger age. He got at least a few years head start on Yogotti by actually doing it on his own from the jump as soon as Dolph turned 18, man. One thing that people got to realize is the fact that young Dolph was actually getting way up into the charts and everything in Memphis. That's why he was the king of Memphis. He was seen everywhere. He would pop out. He wasn't afraid to go to certain neighborhoods. He wasn't afraid to actually go to these certain businesses. And that's the one thing Yogotti never did. He never went back to give back. So young Dolph won the hearts of all the citizens, all the supporters of Memphis, because there can only be one king of Memphis. And that really made the jealousy, the envy, and the greed even more of a thing, because everyone wanted that spot as the king of Memphis. They knew what came with it. Yogotti and them wanted that spot of king of Memphis because they wanted to show that they took over the town or they controlled the town or whatever. But see, Memphis couldn't give it to them because they know that they really wasn't the actual heart and soul of Memphis, and that ended up being young Dolph. That's why a lot of people rock with young Dolph. A lot of people rock with PRE, man. He introduced them to the whole entire thing. Yogotti and them, they got a whole different type of supporters, man, because one thing you know is that in Memphis, they decided between young Dolph and Yogotti. They chose young Dolph. And this is why Yogotti hasn't came back to Memphis in a long time. Yogotti hasn't done shows in Memphis in a long time. CMG had to cancel a lot of shows, a lot of tours and everything like that. Moneybagg Yo, all of his concerts got canceled for the rest of the season, for the rest of the year, because either they know that the Rico's gonna hit at one of the concerts and they're gonna raid the stage, or that somebody's gonna try to get back at the concert from the Young Dolph. You gotta remember, the first concert that happened after Young Dolph got hit up, Yo Gotti's concert was the one that got hit up in Mississippi. They came up and sprayed the whole stage. The Samoan security guards had to push Yo Gotti's head down and run him out. That was a hard thing for them to do. They had to run him to the backstage, get him on that whole security truck and that SUV, and they skirted out and left out that place because they knew for a fact that it's not only in Memphis, it's Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, all North Carolina, South Carolina, all these different states, all these different cities and places, they all rocking with Young Dolph. And this is why CMG keeps running into karma. Moneybagg Yo keep running into karma. Big30 is stuck in between whether he should stay with CMG or just go to 1017 because he's sick and tired of dealing with everything that's coming with the Yo Gotti and Moneybagg Yo signing. Everything that's coming with that. Zebo, how every person is being talked about now at this point. He don't want to go down with that Rico. So Big30, he getting ready to just dump CMG, go straight to 1017 because he knows at the end of the day, his cousin Pooh Shiesty's on 1017. And 1017 is really rocking with PRE and Young Dolph. If you know what's really going on, you know for a fact that Young Dolph and Gucci Mane, they business partners, they best friends. And Yo Gotti and Young Dolph, they had their beefs. So did Gucci Mane and Yo Gotti. That's the one thing that happened. So Dolph and Gucci Mane became allies because Yo Gotti hated on both of them. And this is the reason why Pooh Shiesty went to 1017. This is the reason why 1017 was trying to get Big30 in the first place until Yo Gotti came in and scared him into signing with Moneybagg Yo. They had to make a whole new group for Moneybagg Yo to bring Big30 in because Big30 said he don't want to be involved with this. He don't want to have anything of his name being attached to the people that had anything to do with Dolph. And so now Big30 getting ready to just go all over the 1017. He about to make an announcement and let them know that he's actually going to be rocking with PRE 1017 instead of CMG. But he's still going to stay in Memphis. And this is the thing. A lot of the people that's in Memphis, like Big Scar, RIP to Big Scar, man. Big Scar was really rocking with Dolph and Gucci Mane. He was going to be the next big superstar. So it was a lot of things that happened, man. Ever since Dolph, ever since Big Scar, a lot of people went. It changed the whole trajectory of how Memphis is doing. And really, nobody's winning. You got people like Glorilla coming up, but she ain't really get a good deal because she signed to CMG for 60 bands. And she still had to pay that back. And Yo Gotti gets to keep half the money for everything. So Moneybagg Yo, same thing. He was going to go with Dolph and get way bigger. When Yo Gotti came in, tricked him into getting half of his whole checks that's coming in. So a lot of these people in Memphis, they got to really recognize that Dolph was the only one that was teaching them how to get the big bag. If you did have to sign, how is it going to go and what type of deal that you got to do? Maybe distribution instead of just 360. And so this is the thing that Big30 didn't want to have to do and stay with a 360 deal with CMG. He would rather be on his own and do something like Dolph did. And now all the rappers, all the artists are starting to realize that this is what Dolph was talking about. This is how Dolph got the $100 million, man, by doing it on his own. And this is why Yo Gotti wanted him to merge with him so that Yo Gotti could take half of that $100 million that was coming from Dolph. But Dolph knew better. He knew for a fact that if he stayed on his own, he could keep the whole $100 million and leave it for his family and make that generational wealth. He left it for his son, man. A lot of the stuff Young Dolph left for his son, but some of the people from PRE, some of the rappers and everything, started coming out of the woodworks and taking some of the stuff that should have been left for Young Dolph's son, man. If y'all think that Young Dolph should have left everything for his son and his family, let me know in the comment section, because that's really what should have been done, man. And you got to see that all the rappers got a lot of his jewelry and some of his houses and everything like that. The car collection was given to a whole nother group of people. They should have kept all that into one package and let the family and his son decide what they was going to do with it so they could eat up off of it. This is why Dolph did the way he did business, so that he could actually leave it for his family. And now the next generation, his next generation, they don't have to do as hard as grinding and working to make it out the hood to bring something. They already got something that Dolph left behind. And this is why a lot of people got a lot of respect for Young Dolph.